What's up, everyone? This is LeetCode 206, reverse linked list. We've done this problem in Python, but now we are doing it in C++. Yeah, this problem is pretty self-explanatory. We just have to reverse a linked list, and return the reverse list, and we're given the head node, okay? So we're given the head node, okay? So the way we're going to do this is we're going to basically store this next node, right, in a temporary node, and then this is going to point to null, right? And then this node, right? We basically need to keep getting the next node and the current node that we're on point it backwards, okay? If that makes sense. Okay, so I'll show you how we're going to do this. So we're going to make a node called current, right? Which is going to be set to the head node. And we're going to say while current not equal to null, okay? We're going to get the temp node. You can call it next node or temp node. Maybe I'll just call it next node. It's going to be a little bit more clear. And that's going to be cur.next. Okay, so when we're at this 1, next node is going to be this 2. Okay, now current is currently 1, so let's point that to previous. Okay, now previous we didn't define. Let's do that now, actually. So we're going to say list node previous, and no surprises is going to point to null, right? Because we're reversing this link, so this first node actually should be pointing to null, right? Which makes sense, right? This one should be pointing to nothing. Now, so we set this 1, or we stored the next node. This 1, we pointed it to null. Now, set this 1 as the previous, okay? So, set that to cur, and cur is going to be the next node. So we're basically moving on to the next node, okay? So now let's look at the while loop again. Is cur, or I should say current, not null? Yeah, it's not null. So the next node is going to be 3. So we're going to store next node. 3 is going to be next node, which would be cur.next, right? And then cur.next at this 2 is going to point to the previous. So this 2 is going to point to this 1, right? And then we're going to move over to this 3 as the current is going to be set to next node. Okay, so yeah, we're basically just moving along the linked list and pointing it, setting the pointer to the one before it. Obviously, when we're at the head node, we're actually pointing to null, right? So yeah, that's basically what we're doing. Reversing a linked list is it's not that difficult as long as you practice doing it. I mean, maybe like the first time you do it, it's a little bit confusing. But anyways, this is the iterative approach, but there is a way to do it recursively. So I'm just gonna show you that now. I don't know, maybe some interviews want you to do it one way or the other. Also, it gives us a follow-up if we can solve it iteratively or recursively, or both. We're actually gonna do it both. So this is the recursive implementation now, okay? So we're going to return the recursive null head. Now we need to define this function, okay? So let's say rec, and what we're doing, the first parameter is actually the previous, which makes sense, right? Because it should point to null initially, and the current node should be the head node, which makes sense, right? Because this is what we did when we were doing it iteratively. We basically had the head node and we needed to point it to previous, which is initially null, right? Okay. So if cur is equal to null, just return the previous. Else, we're gonna get the next node, right? Which is gonna be cur next. Right, and we're gonna set cur next to previous, and we're just gonna return what? We're gonna return the previous, which is gonna be cur, right? And next node. So remember how remember how in like when we were doing iteratively, we actually did this, right? We set previous equal to cur. Rather than doing that, we're just passing cur into this parameter because this parameter is supposed to be the previous. So rather than actually assigning previous to cur, we just pass cur into the first parameter. Likewise, rather than setting the current to the next node, we just pass next node into the second parameter. Because again, the first parameter is supposed to be previous, the second parameter is supposed to be current. Okay, so we're basically doing the same thing, except we're not actually declaring these variables, and we're also obviously doing it recursively. Also, I had a little error here. It should be that, right? Make sure we call the function to begin with. And also make sure you have your semicolons. That will give you an error if you don't. So yeah, the recursive solution and the iterative solution really aren't that different. I mean, they're both pretty simple. I mean, granted, it's a pretty simple problem, so they're not like wildly different or anything. But anyways, I hope that helped, and I'll see you in the next one.